This is the Retro Inc. podcast. Welcome back.
You are listening to the Retro Inc. podcast, a member of the Star Wars Commonwealth podcast network. Check out more from the Commonwealth at starwarscommonwealth.com and take your first steps into a larger world.
Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 22 Retro Inc. podcast with me, Andy, and my co-host, Adam.
Good evening, Andy. How are you, mate?
I'm okay, mate. Thank you. Yourself?
Good. And 22 big ones.
Yeah, it's getting there, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's great stuff, isn't it?
It is indeed, mate. I feel like we're achieving, and we're now part of the lovely Commonwealth, and we're ever expanding. And we've had some good news actually. That I wanted to share with some people that although we do this for the love and everything, we're up here now. But I mean, we spoke about it before that we're in, America, Canada, the UK, Ireland. These are all the places we'd expect. But recently, we've had Sweden, Japan, Panama, the Maldives, Germany. All these places have started to pop up on the feed, which is absolutely fantastic news. There's people out there. I mean, one or two of them might have been accidents, but I'll take the accidents. Yeah, someone in the Maldives listening to us two whittle on about.
Well, you never know, do you?
Childhoods.
It could well be that somebody has listened and said, "Hey, do you like this sort of stuff? Because I do," and he passes it on to his mate, and or he could have had multiple devices.
Or failing
and
that,
it onto them.
failing that, one of our listeners has got a little bit of dosh on their hands, and they've gone on to Maldives for the holiday. And but that's cool. That's cool.
I downloaded it there.
Yeah, that's fine. If you want to travel the world and keep upping those numbers for us across the globe, then we're cool with that. But really interesting to see, to be honest with you. And again, I'd actually like to extend a big thanks to the Commonwealth because our last episode, A Year in Retro, which we dropped last Friday, within a day, we had the best download day we have had since we've started this. So I know that a big part of that is the amazing group of people that we've got helping us share out, our pod out there. And they're doing a good job. I know we've had recommendations. We've seen people, I've had people get in touch saying I was recommended this by so-and-so from so-and-so. And, they're a great group of people. And, I implore anyone out there that if you haven't listened to the other 9 podcasts on this network, do so, because there's some real interesting, knowledgeable and fun folk doing some great stuff, and it's a pleasure listening to them every day, and it's even more humbling to be part of that. So thank you very much again.
To be in the same community as the Nerd Room and Generation X-Wing, and obviously Rob and Brad at Talk Star Wars. I'm not ruling anybody else out here, but just an example.
Don't use Rob and Brad. Come on.
Is a thrill.
We're more highbrow than them.
And it's been an absolute honour to be part of the Commonwealth. Yeah. As a knight of the Commonwealth when I was knighted there, and a VIP of the TSW group, and having that support, it has been really fantastic. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
And thank you for those people in Japan for listening.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
Right, we do have a bit of feedback on Podbean as well from our very lovely listener Mark 018441. He likes to get in touch, and I do like that. It's very nice of him. Thanks for the shout out, lads. I must admit, since listening to you guys, my eyes are constantly scanning for retro games and 80s memorabilia wherever I go. Sideways, laughy, cry face. As for the new Star Wars name, I agree with everything you said, but I'm also seeing a pattern around the whole balance thing. During episodes 1, 2 and 3, the Jedi overpowered the Sith and the Jedi Order was still growing. Then during the OT, the Sith had a stronger presence than the Jedi. Then moving on to the newest episodes, it seems like throughout the film, the Force is actually at war with itself, light, dark, it's a good concept, and uses a Sith and Jedi as the instruments of war. Could there be a stronger being that needs to harness both light and dark in order to create a balance? I quite like that idea.
I do. I like that a lot.
Almost like Neo from the Matrix, the One. So the final showdown has to result with balance between light and dark. Anyways, I'm not totally clued up on such things, as I'm not completely geeked up on the matter. Just a thought. Great chat game, lads. Keep it up. Well, Mark, I've got to give you credit. I think that's actually quite... it's different. I've not heard anything like that so far. I mean, you may have had them, but we're always picking into the protagonist, antagonist, light and dark, the balance of the force. One has to live with the other or destroy the other together to create that balance. But what if it is a Neo-esque situation where someone like Rey, who we know full well does have both attributes of light and dark in her, we've seen her battling those demons, same as Kylo, is very, he's a deep character that I don't, with Kylo, it's weird. I hear a lot of sort of people on the fence backlash. I think he's a bit this and a bit that, and some people think he's absolutely fantastic. I personally think he is one of the most intriguing things about the new Star Wars movies. Yes, there is a lot of teenage angst there, and if you actually scratch that, though, there is a lot underneath the surface. That inner turmoil that boy's going through, and I really like this idea of maybe, obviously I'm not shipping the Kylo and Rey relationship thing, but surely if they was to have an offspring, maybe that would be the balance of that force, and it's one of those, we're never going to know until the final movie comes out at the end of next year. But we love throwing these little ideas about, and I think that's a great one there. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think it's a very... I mean, there has been stranger love stories than Rey and Kylo. I do think that we may well see a possible Vader appearance in Episode 9, and I do think that we are going to see one hell of a lightsaber fight between the two of them.
Yeah.
I do believe that's going to happen. But I think, she's called Rey of Light, and perhaps she is the chosen one, the real chosen one.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We have seen weirder relationships. Let's be honest. We've seen Howard the Duck and Leah Thompson. I mean, if you can,
nail on the head there.
If you can accept that, then I'm sure we can accept Kylo and Rey. But yeah, totally. I think these are all the like this is what the guys at Talk Star Wars do, and Tumbling Saber and that. They get these ideas, they get these questions in, and they bat them about, and they come out with some, sometimes absolutely stellar stuff and absolutely bonkers stuff. But it all works. It's all great, because this is what the fun of doing this is, isn't it? Especially
Absolutely.
When you're such a fan of these franchises, to see, it's kind of like Christmas, isn't it? The build
You've
up.
seen the boxes, but you don't know what the hell's inside.
And the boxes are sometimes more fun than finding out what's inside. That weight and the excitement and all the hyperbole and the questions and the talk all leads up to that, that point at the end where we finally see this movie. And when we sit down and that the curtains widen and the lights go down, none of this matters. None of this matters anymore, because what we're going to see is usually 99% not what we spoke about. But that's not a bad thing, because I like to go in surprised. And, we had all these ideas for Snoke, and, who Snoke was going to be, and the Knights of Ren. And then we go into The Last Jedi, and Rian Johnson went, "No, you don't want to know about that." And okay, maybe we don't. You're right. Fair enough. We'll watch a different film then. And, that can be slightly annoying for some people. It can be life ruining for others, who can be complete keyboard warriors and imbeciles. But I guarantee those people are still going and watch the next movie, even though they say they won't. But yeah, keep throwing ideas like this at us, because we love talking about it, don't we?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And one thing's for sure, though, I think the excitement for Solo's release for home viewing is really building.
It is, isn't it? It really is. I've seen, I saw, is it Matt Keegan, I think, in the Tumbling Saber group tonight, posting about how he is absolutely jonesing to watch
I commented
shout
on
out.
his
Happy
comment.
birthday, Matt. By the way.
Happy birthday, Matt, for yesterday.
Yeah.
Was it yesterday? Yeah.
Well, by the time this goes out, it was a week ago, but yeah.
It would be.
Yeah. Happy birthday,
Different
Matt.
time zone there in
Well,
Australia.
it's Australia by the time they get this, but they're only just getting the first lot of Star Wars movies out there, so, but yeah, happy birthday, Matt. But yeah, I see that he was, like I say, jonesing to watch this, and they've still got 40 days, isn't it? I think same as Canada, before this comes out. And yeah, I mean, I'm there with him. I said to you, wasn't I, when Solo came out, I told you my reaction that I wasn't bothered. I was bothered. I did want to see it, but I wasn't champing at the bit to go there. And I waited and waited, and as the day dragged on, and Rob from TSW messaged me to say, "Are you going tonight?" And I said to him, "I don't know, maybe." And then I spoke to him later on. I went, "Yeah, I've booked my ticket. I'll see you there tonight." And I watched it, and I came out, and I wasn't sure. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't 100% sure of how much I enjoyed it. And then I watched it a week later, and it's absolutely phenomenal, and definitely in the top half of my favourite Star Wars movies. But I need to see it again. And the interesting thing about that is I now love The Last Jedi. And I'm really not that bothered about seeing it anytime soon at the moment. That's not a bad thing. It's not that I'm, poo-pooing the film. But it surprises me that I'm more intrigued in watching Solo again than I am The Last Jedi.
I totally agree. I think this is the first Star Wars film that I have not seen. I mean, this is twice, right? I've seen it twice. For me,
is this the first time that I've seen a Star Wars film the same amount of times as you? That's amazing.
Yeah, well, isn't it? It's a strange thing because,
when it comes out, can I watch it before you so that I can officially say for once in my life I've seen a Star Wars film more than you? Is that just for an hour? You can start 10 minutes behind me, okay?
I think that number will greatly improve upon once it's out for home release. That's for sure. Infinity War is out next week in the UK, which is going to be another one of those movies that we're going to be watching again and again because there's just so much to look at. Those fight scenes, the CG is just immense. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of the deleted scenes too in that, and as well as in Solo. I mean, there's going to be some lot of deleted scenes.
Yeah.
Looking forward to really watching a lot of the Minban stuff as well when Solo was a trooper because there was a lot of stuff going on in the background.
Yeah.
The scout walkers and all kinds of stuff, and I really want to watch all that again.
Yeah, I want to see the trench warfare bit, which is not something we've seen in Star Wars really before. We see the battles on Hoth and on Crate, and they're in the trenches, and but it's very much one battle done and dusted. What we saw in Solo was those guys had been there for a while. They were dug in for war, and that was real interesting stuff. When you've got a battlefield
really was.
and what's his name? Woody Harrelson's character. Remind me. Anyway, he's there, and for him to be caught up in all of that and getting away with the ruse that they're doing, it shows the scope of that war. That this guy's just got an outfit on, a commander's outfit, and people are just falling for it and buying it because there's so many people there doing so many things. You can just get away with it. Yeah, and I want to see all that again, and I want to see Chewie, I want to see Han, because them two's chemistry on screen was phenomenal. It's I hate to say it's comparable to Harrison and that, but it's a very good imitation, mate. It really is. It's
very close.
Yeah. So,
let's go from Star Wars to Star Trek. And we had some news released today, in fact, that there's been a new casting. Now, this is the son of a very famous person. Andy, do you want to fill us in with a little bit of that info?
Yeah, this is what is his first name again? Sorry, just to remind me.
His name,
because that's the bit I haven't got.
Ethan Peck.
Ethan Peck, that's it. And this is the grandson of the Oscar-winning Gregory Peck, and he will be playing Spock in Star Trek Discovery, which I've had a Google of Ethan Peck, and I like it.
He looks good, doesn't he?
He does look good, yeah.
Look very good. You can see him with some ears on the guy, you know.
Yeah.
It's a shame because obviously it would be nice to see Zachary Quinto in this, but obviously it's a different thing.
It's a different universe, isn't it? It's different parallel timeline, etc. This is for season 2, which comes out next year, of Discovery. I haven't finished watching Discovery yet, but what I did watch of it, I thought was fantastic. And I think that more so than JJ's movies, I think Discovery has fueled this newfound interest in Star Trek for the TV series. What with Patrick Stewart coming back as Picard for whatever this thing is going to be called. Now, I'm kicking myself because there was news yesterday that 2 domains have been registered for Star Trek.
Has there?
Yes, and they're potentially the name of the new Star Trek series with Patrick Stewart in them.
Wow.
So I'm just going to quickly have a Google while we talk about this.
Do you know what's really interesting while you're looking at that is that throughout the 52 years of TV and film that Star Trek has been in, and that's pretty amazing, isn't it? 52 years this has been running. A parallel universe and a mirror universe. Spock is the only member of the original bridge crew to span every era of Star Trek.
Wow.
It's pretty incredible, isn't
it? Yeah.
And let's face it, I mean, you know, whoever's played him, whether it's Nimoy or Quinto or this guy, he's going to be playing the same character because, you know, he is who he is.
Yeah.
But there has been a little, you know, he's very empathic. He's got great intuition. But he's also, you know, he's obviously very logical. But the Kurtzman, I think he's the director who's going to be bringing him to the fore, has said that we're going to be seeing some other qualities to this kind of Spock, which will expand him greatly, which I think is very exciting. I mean, so brilliant if you're a Star Trek fan. You've not only just got Mr. Stewart coming back on board, but now you've got a new Spock, which is very exciting. And this is he's going to appear in Star Trek Discovery's second season, which will premiere in January of 2019, and that's on CBS All Access. I don't know when we'll get that on Netflix, but it shouldn't be too long after that.
So I've just found it. This is on Lexology.com. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So new Star Trek series name revealed in trademark application. According to the popular trademark Ninja blog, the name of Patrick Stewart's new Star Trek series may have been revealed in a recent trademark application. TV network CBS filed a Star Trek Reliant trademark application on the same day that Patrick Stewart announced he was reprising his role as Jean-Luc Picard. The mark is filed in a Class 41 for services including a continuing multimedia series featuring drama. So, you know, I did hear, I did think there was 2 names that maybe that's all it was, but I think, you know, there was a web series in 2012, fan made one called Star Trek Reliant. So you never know. Sometimes they do buy up these trademarks just so that
it's very possible. Make sure that nobody else gets
it. But to have it to have that trademark filed the same day that Patrick Stewart announces his involvement in a new series makes you wonder. But Star Trek Reliant, Star Trek Discovery, they all fit. I can deal with that. You know, it's an exciting time, especially for people like us. I'm a big Star Trek fan. I know you like your Star Trek.
I do.
And I just want to see more of it. It's an interesting world because, in a way, even though Star Wars is very expansive, They created a whole universe here. It's quite linear. You know,
I also think it is a soap, essentially.
Star Trek is. I mean, like I'm saying, Star Wars is quite linear, though. You've got your Skywalker saga story arc. It's about the Skywalkers, and if you're a casual fan, and this is a casual fan sort of view I'm trying to take here, it's a linear story. There are 9 films in this series that I can watch and get a story out of. I don't need to watch the standalone movies, and even those still tie into that main story arc. All of these characters are people that either you know or have some importance. You know, even Rogue One, that's part of the story of episode 4. Whereas Star Trek, each series may have crossovers or references, but generally they are 99% new crew, new stories. And even you look at Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine was very soap.
Very much so.
Very soap. And even Next Gen, now we had in there, I think there was more depth of a main story arc in Next Gen. However, you still have your episodes that are very much standalone, very much Monster of the Week, and you can watch them, turn them off, and it doesn't create any diversion or any impact to the main story. So
there was always plenty of to be continued, though, wasn't there, in Next Gen?
Yeah, there was, and that's, you know, that
and in the original TV series, and it was very much like it was on a certain day, a certain time, every week, and you, without fail, you knew it was on. It was like, you know, 8 o'clock on a Friday night, you knew it was going to be Friends. Star Trek's always been like that. It's only since we've had digital platforms that things have changed quite considerably. But the essential thing is that bridge has always had pretty much the same cast, hasn't it?
Yeah.
On it.
Yeah.
Regardless. So you're following a family of characters, and then you obviously get the security guards that you never recognise, and you'll never see them again.
The red shirts.
The red shirt guys.
But yeah.
Would you want to be a red shirt guy? I would quite like to be a red shirt guy.
I'd be fine with it, mate. Until they called me to get on the transport to go down to a planet, I'd be all up.
They seem to get all the action, don't they? They get the action, that's for sure.
Yeah, I want to be the one in, I don't know if you've ever noticed it, in the first episode of Next Gen. Now, I'm very PC, very open-minded here, but it was a awkward time for TV, and what they tried to do was, with Star Trek, they wanted to make it so that where it was in the future, everyone was very liberal, everyone was open-minded, and there was no gender specification to anything. Yeah, so, you know, men wanted, women wore what women wanted and did what women wanted to do, and you see it with Star Trek. There is very strong female characters in that bridge crew. You know, Deanna Troi, the Doctor, they're all very independent, strong female characters in these stories. They're not people you would mess with. Look at Janeway in Voyager. She was very, you know, she's a very strong captain. Now, I don't like her performance much. She's much better in Orange is the New Black. But not Janeway. It's not the same character. Don't worry. That'd be weird. But there's a guy in one of the first shots in the Next Gen who walks past the screen wearing a skirt.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's subtle. It's done very subtly, so that, because obviously what they were trying to show was it didn't matter. You know, this is the future, and
That's fantastic. I've never noticed that.
And I hope the future does get like that, where people don't bat an eyelid at things like that, because if that's how you're comfortable and that's how you feel yourself, then go for it. But it's Star Trek's always had that. Like I say, that it just feels more expansive to me in some ways than Star Wars. I know Star Wars has a lot of expanded storytelling, but visually, for a visual medium, there is a lot more Star Trek, and we know that.
Am I right in thinking that Jean-Luc and the Doctor did have a thing?
Yes, they did. They did have a thing, yeah, because there was obviously the fun Wesley Crusher, sort of looking at him as a father figure, and Jean-Luc just not being very good with kids. Story arc in there, but obviously he sort of grows to become quite enamoured with Wesley.
Did we ever find out whether Wesley's father, who he was, did we ever find that out? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
Did they ever explore that?
I don't know if they did.
I'm sure Mr. Will Wheaton must have an idea.
I'm going to extend a offer to Mr. Wheaton, who I am a very big fan of.
Oh,
if you are listening, if you ever hear this, you're more than welcome to come on here and chew the fat about it. So, you know, we can only hope, can't we? Or if you want to just phone me up and narrate a bit of Ready Player One to me live over the phone, I'm happy with that as well. So, but yeah, I'm all in for this, mate. More Star Trek's good Star Trek for me. There's, aside from Enterprise and the original series, there's not been much Star Trek that I haven't been interested in. Which is a shame, because I love Scott Bakula, and I really wished I could have enjoyed Enterprise, but it just didn't do it for me. I think part of it was that intro music, but move onwards. We've got more Star Trek coming here. Cool stuff for me.
Great stuff.
What else you got?
Well, there's still lots of rumblings about Mr. Gunn perhaps joining the DC universe, but until we get something a little bit more quantified, we'll leave it as theorizing. Yeah. To the comics in Marvel, I don't know if you've read anything or you've been keeping up with Marvel's latest comic event, Infinity Wars, not to be confused with Infinity War, the movie. You'll know that the fan favourite Guardian of the Galaxy, Gamora, recently had a major reveal in the comics, and a pretty dark one at that. And so dark, in fact, that she may have just solidified her future role as one of Marvel's next big baddies, just like her father. So the question is, how did she end up there? And more importantly, what does it actually mean? Now, it's quite likely that something, an event in this is going to really sort of change quite a lot of stuff, and perhaps will even filter into the film, because usually the comics do reflect the movie, and the movie reflects parts that's going on in it.
Aspects, don't they? So.
Of course they do. But, unsurprisingly, Gamora's descent into madness begins well before the Infinity Gem chaos really started to ram up, and all the way back into the mid-1970s, before the original Infinity Gauntlet event, where Gamora's consciousness was absorbed into the Soul Gem after her body was killed. And in the ensuing years, Gamora's soul was projected to the Soul World, which was housed within the gem, and it was given a new sort of physical form, essentially resurrecting her and paving the way for a modern Gamora that we know and love today in the movies. So, there's a massive backstory. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes of that. But the Soul World itself, there was something really wrong with that, and this idyllic utopia that was usually contained within the gem was slowly starting to become more corrupted and stalked by a giant Edric sort of monster. And so the knowledge was unsurprisingly quite a bit to sort of handle, that Gamora has never been quite the same person she was, and she doesn't want to sit back and wait for answers. She begins sort of tirelessly hunting down for the Soul Gem, to put an end to the mystery once and for all. Of what's been going on. So it'd be interesting to see what pans out for the next Infinity movie. But one particular franchise that I know you really love in terms of the toys, but not so much of the movies. And I want to sort of go into this a little bit, because there's been 4 Transformers movies to date. Am I right? I think there has.
Roll out. No, there's been more than that, mate. We've had
Transformers
1, 2, and 3. We had Transformers 4, which was the Mark Wahlberg. Then we had
right. Yep.
The Last Night, didn't we?
Ah, yes, is that one which most people have probably forgotten, including myself.
Yeah. Didn't we have Extinction as well?
Oh, thank you very much. That's the other one. So it just shows you how much little I know, yeah.
Blimey.
So that's 6 movies. Any of those particularly good? Not really, is there really? But I tell you what is bloody
come on,
good.
Right. The first one, my issue here lies with Shia LaBeouf, and I know that you quite like the guy.
I do, yeah.
The first one, story-wise. Now, this is how my life with Transformers movies went. The first one came out, and I was stoked. I went to watch it. I was a bit put off by Shia LaBeouf being him, but I quite enjoyed it. I went, yeah, all right, I can enjoy this film for the action. Then I watched Revenge of the Fallen. And I got about halfway through this movie, and I started to think to myself, hang on, I think I've seen this. I've seen this movie before, right? It's very similar to the first one. I mean, I don't know what I'm expecting for giant monsters, robot fighting, And then I saw Transformers Dark of the Moon, and I thought, now hang on here. Right, who wrote this script? Because did they just take the last one? It's like when you copy something off Wikipedia for a school project and just change a few words. And then I thought, I'm fed up with this. Then we had Age of Extinction, wasn't it, with Mark Wahlberg, I'm sure. There's 5 films altogether. Dark of the Moon, Age of Extinction, which is the first Mark Wahlberg film. And I thought, hang on, this is cool. They're changing it up. We know Shia LaBeouf. We've got a new, main star. And I watched it and I was very disappointed with the way that film went. And I haven't bothered with The Last Night.
So Michael Bay has directed all of these movies.
Yeah.
but purely what's lacking is script.
It's originality, yeah. Don't get me wrong, man. Watching these, they're a visual feast. Now, I've seen some of this on 4K.
They look great with the sound down, don't they?
They are perfect to see. You know, that scene where they're coming in and they suddenly turn into robots and they flip over and they're changing midair. They're detailed. They're beautiful. They look great. But where's the story? That's my problem. There is so much depth with the Allspark and, you know, their planet and all, but it only gets sort of touched on in exposition and filler scenes. I want to see more of this grandeur, of this magic of different worlds and stuff. And all we seem to get is some wet human that doesn't really know what they're doing with their life, suddenly stumble upon a big robot that suddenly takes a shine into them and takes them on a little adventure to fight some Decepticons. And it's just a bit boring, really.
Well, I think the only way you can really tell a good Transformers story is by buying these new toys. Now, back in July, there was some photographs of what they were going to be bringing out. But Walmart is going like full old school, bringing Generation 1 Transformers back from the 1980s into the toy aisle later this year. US retailer has announced that Starscream Hot Rod and 6-figure construction Devastator pack and Legion class figures like Bumblebee and Outback are going to be released in like the original production packaging, the tooling, the die-cast parts, the classic heat-sensitive stickers. You know, these things look incredible. And I remember seeing all these when these came out and was like, really wanted Optimus Prime, the truck. You know, it goes for silly money in the packaging. But the packaging is a complete recreation of the original 1984 packaging and lending even more to the figure's authenticity. Yeah. Looks really, really good. You know, Megatron looks fantastic. You know, the huge blaster that changes into Megatron is just so good. So the sets are sort of up for pre-order with Walmart in the States for around sort of $74.99, which is quite a lot really for something. But, you know, these are going to just be superb. And, you know, really, you know, we created more stories for ourselves as children by playing with toys than we ever did in the film. You know, I remember looking at a lot of the box art on the Star Wars toys and thinking, "Well, I don't remember this scene." But of course, because it's not. You make it up, and that's where things, you know, really develop. And it's just a shame, actually, that again, you know, this franchise isn't better than it, but you know, it could be.
It's a real shame, mate. Yeah.
Because whenever I was going in at Toys R Us, there was a huge amount of Transformers toys on the pegs. And there was, you know, I was always thinking, well, these don't seem to be depleting every week.
Yeah, but
and that's probably because those films were so damn bad that kids weren't buying the toys.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it, given the fact that the whole thing came from the toys rather than the other way around. The toys were first. They created all of this to sell toys. That's why they did it.
So did the cartoon come not long after the toys were released?
They created the cartoon for the toys. That's what they did. Hasbro was it Hasbro, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, they created this whole Transformers thing to sell toys, and the toys are fantastic. I mean, you've only got to look at the concept of what they are. They're cars that turn into robots that turn back into cars again.
It's a Rubik Cube toy.
It's a toy, isn't it? Straight off there. That's going to sell. I mean, what self-respecting 35-plus-year-old man wouldn't want that? You know, I'm going to go to the shop and buy a robot that turns into a car and turns back again because it looks cool. But the trouble is, these days, they need to make those films a bit more, either market them for kids like the cartoon was, so those kids will buy those toys, or market it more for people like me and you, and do something with that story that's a little bit more intricate, I think is what I'm looking for. They're very linear. They're very simple stories. You know, guy finds robots fighting big bad robots. There's definitely more room here. You got to get
what normally sells. What normally sells well, as you know, as a movie, is where a kid discovers a robot, not an adolescent or an adult.
Well, I think that's what they
Kids
were trying
and
to do with
robots
Sheila Booth.
always work well, wouldn't it? It really works well. Flight of the Navigator, you look at those sort of films.
Of course it does. But this is what I think what they tried to do with Sheila Booth, but unfortunately it was a little bit too old. And then when you stick Megan Fox half naked over a car bonnet, it kind of straight away detracts from the fact that this is a kid. He's not a kid anymore. When you're putting sexuality into a movie like that, blatantly as well, because it was done...
It was very blatant.
Almost cringeworthy, the way that was done. It detracts away from that, you know. I would like to see that, exactly what you said. Maybe market this film more as a family film and have these robots and a young kid.
In a way that Terminator 2 was with a young
John.
Yeah, you know. But the robots protecting him protecting them.
It'd be cool, something like that.
That would have worked much better, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I'm all up for Transformers films, and to be honest with you, like I say, out of them, I've only really enjoyed 1.5 of them. I've seen most of them, apart from the latest, because I've heard such bad things, and I thought, well, there's other things I could watch rather than that. It's not that I'm averse against the idea of having a Transformers movie, because the idea of it sounds fantastic. You know, sticking my childhood up on screen. That's what's wrong with that? You know, I want to see it, but we'll look forward to Bumblebee, see what that brings, because that does look slightly different.
Well, this is where partly where I was going, because this is, I think, it might be the saviour of this franchise. And one of the TV shows that was pretty popular, and the same kind of thing, you know, robots that turn to cars turn to robots, is Voltron. Have you happened to see the Netflix series at all?
I've seen the first episode of the Netflix series, yeah.
Well, for $159.99, Lego have produced an epic set. It's a lot of money for a set. It really is. But I've seen now pictures of this, and what you can build out of this thing is just stunning. So you've got all the different characters, and of course, you know, that builds up into... Oh my God, it just looks amazing. Yeah. Absolutely amazing, yeah. I mean, you know, I'm all in for Star Wars Lego and big vehicles and ships, but this thing, wow, it's superb.
Yeah, I saw this the other day, and it does look...
So
really
what's a shame is that, you know, what's a shame in terms of Transformers is that Lego didn't get in there.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, not many kids have seen Voltron. Not many kids watch Voltron or even know what Voltron is, but Transformers they do.
But I think maybe that's changing now, though, because of Netflix. Yeah.
But, you know, that's a great shame that they didn't get on board with Transformers, because it's got Lego written all over it, isn't it?
Very much, mate. Yeah.
It really has.
Yeah, interesting. Really, really good stuff to say. That little Voltron set, I think he looks lovely, and I'd like to see. I'd like to get my hands on one of these Transformers toys, these new ones, to have a proper look at it. So, when did you say they were hitting?
Well, it's. I think it's already. You know, it's on. It's out there now.
They are.
I think they say. Yeah, it really is.
Cool.
Yes, mate. Now, a little question for you.
Yeah.
Now, I want you to imagine something. If you could only watch one movie for like the rest of your life, what would it be? But more importantly, I want you to imagine that we are on a ship full of DVDs.
All right.
Okay. And we can't grab, you know, necessarily what's in our top 10, but we've got to take films with us that we can watch again and again and again, that's going to just while away the time, because we don't know when we're going to be rescued.
Oh, no, sorry. The first thing I've got to ask is, how have we got ourselves in this situation? It's hypothetical. I mean, we're on a boat with thousands of DVDs.
We've gone to the very last blockbuster on the planet, right? And we've loaded up all that stuff in those huge containers. We've shoved it on the ship, and that ship has been marooned. And
pick a mix. Have we got that as well with us?
We've got the what? Sorry,
the old pick and mix that's left in the.
Oh mate, we can take. We've got pick and mix.
That's all right.
Till it comes out of our ears.
Okay.
So it's all there. Now I think probably the first film we should really sort of grab with us it's got to be Castaway, isn't it?
Well, I mean, if I need to know how to do some emergency dentistry on myself, I think that's probably the one I'm going to go to. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can grab a ball and write Wilson on it.
I suppose for irony, it might keep us a bit grounded. You start going a bit delusional, and I start looking at balls to, like you say, put faces on and become best friends with. I think maybe if I watch that, it might bring me back down to earth a little bit.
Yeah, there's plenty of advice in that film, though, isn't there, that we could use for surviving on an uninhabited beach, dealing with sort of mental anguish and loneliness. Well, we both suffer with that. Yeah. I'm not sure about. Yeah, so. What do you reckon? Do you reckon that would be a good one?
For the irony, yeah, I think we can have a good old chuckle, when we're starving to death and going slightly insane. You could watch that and go, well, at least Tom Hanks is keeping me amused.
Okay, now
the other question is, how do we watch these on a desert island?
We've got a lot of car batteries that we've rigged up to a DVD player and a TV. So this is imaginary.
Okay, sorry, no, I can't do imaginary. I'll have to look at the real life aspects of this because if
we're talking of real life, how about this film? How about we take Clueless?
Oh, no,
don't judge. It's funny and totally a bit addictive, really, isn't it? It's sort of.
If we were going to go down that sort of route, I'd go Mean Girls.
You're going to take Mean Girls?
Yeah, because it's so fetch.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and make fetch happen. I would take. Now, this is one of my favourite films, but it's a film that, as you know, I could watch again, and that's Fifth Element. Because no matter how down I'm feeling, or whatever, if Fifth Element's on, I'm going to enjoy myself.
It's got an uplifting feel. That's what we need. We need some uplifting movies. We're going to be alone and a bit desperate.
Like my next choice then.
Well, what about? I mean, one film that we need some long ones, right? And this is a movie that I've never really watched fully, and I think I would probably love it. Is The Godfather.
Ugh.
Do you reckon that's a good one to grab? I mean,
I don't like the Godfather movies. I really think they're overrated. I'm going to get a lot of backlash for that. But
I just mean the first one. I mean, I think it's a movie that perhaps because we don't like it, we could give it some time, couldn't we?
Yeah, well, I suppose if you're on a desert island, anything's going to be interesting, isn't it? The In-Flight magazine would be interesting. Yeah, I mean. Another one I'd probably take with me is Young Frankenstein.
Oh, see, I've not seen that.
It's one of... I'm a massive Gene Wilder fan, especially when he's with Richard Pryor, which is quite funny because I'm actually not a Richard Pryor fan when it comes to his stand-up or his comedy. I just think the two of them have a chemistry that is often duplicated but never replicated, if you understand what I mean there. It's he is the two of them together have a fantastic chemistry, but this hasn't got Richard Pryor in it. But Gene Wilder to me is one of the funniest people from the last from movie in history. He manages to bring these subtle little nuances and these little sparks in his performance that make him stand out, and he never really plays the funny guy in Young Frankenstein. He's crazy. He is Victor Frankenstein's grandson. He hates the family name. He calls himself Frankenstein as to be separated from the family name, and he is crazy. He brings his best level of crazy akin to Willy Wonka in this movie. But it's just his performance, the way he delivers lines. He is funny. And that's a really clever form of comedy, is to not do funny things, but to make the things you do funny. If you catch my drift there.
Yeah, gotcha. That sounds great. I look forward to seeing that on our beach.
Honestly, go get yourself a copy of Young Frankenstein. It's in black and white, but it was filmed in the 1970s. It's got all the little key moments that you have in 1940s and 1950s horror movies. So, the terrible lightning and the thunder.
Oh, great.
It's all filmed very much like that. And Marty Feldman as Igor, there's an in-joke there. He is sublime. Marty Feldman, I don't know if you know much of Marty Feldman's work, but he's definitely the funnier one in this movie through his jokes, the way he delivers his stuff. But It's great, mate. It really is one of Wilder's and Mel Brooks' best films. So,
well, I'd like to take Blazing Saddles. I think I'd grab that because it's hilarious. It's distasteful.
I don't know what you mean. Racial jokes and fart jokes.
And the thing I'd really want to show you is a movie by written by Neil Simon, and it's called Murder by Death. Have you ever heard of that film?
No.
The tagline is, by the time the world's greatest detectives figure out who done it, you'll die laughing. Now, let me just tell you who the cast is in this.
Yeah.
Okay? I'll read this out in alphabetical order. Eileen Brennan, Truman Capote, James Coco, Peter Falk, Alec Guinness. Right, ready for some more?
Yeah.
David Niven, Peter Sellers, Maggie Smith, Nancy Walker, Estelle Winwood.
Hang on.
Now, this is an amazing film. I highly recommend people watch this because it's a whodunit movie. So this strange guy who lives in this big old house invites the world's greatest detectives. David Niven plays a kind of he plays a sort of a James Bond type character, and his wife's Maggie Smith. There is Peter Falk, who plays Columbo. Peter Sellers, who plays the Chinese detective whose son's Japanese, who doesn't know that he's Japanese. and there is a sort of Miss Marple character, and it is very, very funny. And I suppose a little bit like Young Frankenstein, this is one of those movies of the times. And you've got it's just brilliant. Just brilliant. Now, when I watched an interview with Alec Guinness not too long ago on the Parkinson Show, he was talking about Star Wars, and he said, he just made a film with all of his greatest friends. He talks about Murder by Death,
right? Okay.
And I remember when this interview was out, and I thought, I wouldn't mind seeing that. And then one afternoon on BBC Two, they showed this film, and I had it on VHS, and then I bought it on DVD, and it's just a great film. And yeah, it is very silly, but it is very funny, and I would definitely grab that to take with us.
Fantastic, mate. I mean, actually, this isn't one that I would take with me, but I take it you've seen The Lady Killers with
yes,
Alec Guinness in it as well. It's
yeah.
Fantastic little era of movies that he did there. Kind Hearts and Coronets is another nice little film that he did as well around that time. But yeah, that's a good one.
Thank you.
Oh, I don't know now. I mean,
so I'll pull another one out.
Yeah, you do another one. I'm thinking.
Okay, well, I've just reached in this box. Oh, it's The Dark Knight. It's not necessarily my favourite of Nolan's films, but let's face it, it's Heath Ledger's awesome, inspiring turn as the Joker, and it's got a relentlessly tense plot, fantastic action sequences. Really beefy runtime, which is what we need because we need to sort of eke the time out. I can hardly think of anything that's more watchable, to be honest, and be ideal to watch at sort of midnight, just before midnight. Stick that on. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Do you like Annie Hall?
No.
I remember seeing that in the box, and I thought, no, I won't pull that out because it's a bit of a classic, but it's not for me.
How about The Princess Bride?
Oh, see, now you're talking.
Yeah. No.
Now, the thing about The Princess Bride, I think, is it's got a bit of everything in it, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's got a bit of everything.
Great
it gets
movie.
better with each viewing, I think. It's got a real sort of like you get really touched by the sort of human spirit of the film, I think.
Yeah.
It's very underrated. It's got a lovely soundtrack.
Do you know what? No, you're right. It is a very underrated movie.
It's just a very underrated film.
That was what, 87, wasn't
it?
Princess Bride came out.
Yeah. Another movie I think that we could pull out around that kind of time was Legend with very young Tom Cruise.
I think the thing is with Legend though is it's one of those that is slightly overrated. It's one of those that has it has that nostalgia value. That people revere it in a way like I think you know what I'm trying to get at here is I've rewatched Legend recently, and another film that does this to me is Neverending Story. I remember them as kids, and I've rewatched it as an adult, and it hasn't got that same impact.
Right.
To me.
Yeah.
I do like Legend, and I do like The Never-Ending Story, but they don't have that same hold that they had over me then. But some films do manage to do that. Still.
Do you think Breakfast Club and Weird Science do those things to you?
No, I think Breakfast Club is a fantastic movie, absolutely fantastic.
Because I got those, they're in the box. I wasn't sure if you wanted me to get them out.
Any John Hughes movie, you can get out any John Hughes movie for me, mate, and I will sit there and I will watch it again and again and again.
I think the great thing about those two films is that they're set in the 1980s, which is a great time. The characters, the music, the dialogue, storylines never get old, no matter how many times you watch them. I'm sure I'm not the only one who really can identify with Molly Ringwald's characters in any of these films. She's pretty damn good. But above all, I think these movies are really hopeful.
All John Hughes films are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've always got a nice message to them. They've always got very, very happy undertones to them. They always, they are coming of age stories most of the time, even if they perceive to be something else. Look at Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's about a guy essentially growing up a little bit as well there and starting to,
Indeed,
the ins and outs of it. He's having the best day of his life, but is he actually really? Yeah, he is, because it looks pretty cool, even to the point where he's reversing the car on the thing to turn back the miles. I think that's brilliant. How about, now we're going into the 80s, how about E.T.?
Oh. See, I didn't think we should really bring out our best favourite films, but Dark Knight is one of those, and I think E.T., we could watch that again and again and again. We should bring that out.
Yeah, Gladiator then.
It's nice and long.
Yeah.
Plenty to watch. Great action. Excellent script. Beautifully directed. Yeah. Epic soundtrack.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good choice. Now, this one, I think you're going to love, because I don't know if you've seen this. And not only is this movie very funny, but it shows Marilyn Monroe at her best. The doe-eyed and perfectly dumb gentlemen prefer blondes.
Gentlemen prefer blondes.
I think that's a perfect film to
I thought you were going to say Some Like It Hot, but,
It's a beautiful movie. It's beautifully photographed. It's got unbelievable costumes, memorable musical numbers. It's got a Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend song in it. It certainly takes your mind off being stuck on a desert island, that's for sure. We can have a little sing and a dance to some of those and stop worrying about, what's happening to us. Yeah. Whereas if we watched Alien...
yeah.
I think that's another great one, because it's bloody long. It's really long. But, apart from there is only the one bloody scene in it, which is the chest bust, of course. The rest of it is got, not really a lot of violence in it. No. It's almost sort of hinted at. And it's nice and long. It's got a good female action hero, which we like quite a lot, don't we? And she saves the cat, which is all good. And all that's set on a really amazing raw atmosphere, which is good. And we need a bit of that on a desert island. I'm going for that, mate. Another one.
How about the seminal great Suburban Commando, starring Hulk Hogan and Christopher Lloyd?
Oh, why not?
I mean, if you want to go to sleep for an hour and a half, we could always put that on.
Well, would you think, if you want to have a sleep, would you not think movies like to sort of wake you up, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?
Yeah, cool.
That would wake you up, wouldn't it?
That would. There is actually another film I'd like to put on this list. That's Good Will Hunting.
Oh, that's a cracker.
It's a beautiful film. It's
Dead Poets Society. Would you fancy that one?
It's a good. I think Dead Poets to me is a little bit more heavy to watch.
Okay, we'll put that back then.
I think Good Will Hunting. There's Matt Damon and Ben Affleck wrote that together, and I think this is where Affleck started to shine in my eyes. There was a time where I didn't like Affleck. I thought it was quite arrogant and overrated in his own views. He was quite egotistical in that. And then he writes something like Good Will Hunting, and you start to think to yourself, this guy's got
very
something
talented
here. And there's a piece of acting in this, and this actually, if we was to do our favourite scenes of all time, this would be in my top 5. And I'm going to paraphrase, but it's the scene where Will is talking to Will, and Ben Affleck says, something along the lines, what I wish is every day when I walk up to your door, that 5 seconds it takes to get from your gate to your door, I wish you wasn't there. I wish you didn't meet me. And I wish you'd gone off and made something of your life. And that scene, even now, no matter how many times I watch it, I will have a tear in my eye.
That's a great scene.
And it's powerful the ways he acts it. And I mean, I think it helps because of their closeness as friends, that there's a chemistry between them that they can do realism with that. I think it would be harder for Affleck to do it with someone else, but it's a beautiful scene. And for that alone, and also the scene with Robin Williams and Matt Damon, where it's not your fault, Will. It's not your fault. It's a beautiful movie, and those are the sort of things in cinema that will keep me going back and back and back to that movie, because Good Will Hunting is not a movie you need to see more than once, but it's a movie that will make you want to watch it more than once. So,
yes, I totally agree. That's a really good film. Not one I've seen for a long time as well, so I think that's a real cracker. There are cliche movie plots: Rags to Riches, Voyage and Return, Overcoming the Monster, and there's the storyline, I think, of Mary and Max. Have you ever seen Mary and Max?
No.
It's a really quirky claymation film about two unlikely pen pals who correspond for about 20 years, and it's very good. I think you'd like that, actually. It's what Pixar might have come up with if their characters found themselves off the rails, I would say. And it's really odd. Their friendship is beautifully celebrated in this film. How about Under the Tuscan Sun? Have you ever seen that movie?
No, mate.
If you're stuck on a desert island with no companions and just sand, waves, and maybe a little bit of a tropical storm for a bit of excitement, this film is rather nice. It's just, you'd want to have a look at some companionship, greener scenery, and some nice food. And this film is is one of those sort of movies that just sort of puts you in a different sort of place.
Cool.
Well, talking of a different place, Lost in Translation, Japan.
Oh, I didn't like it. Sorry.
Do you know what? I pulled that out and I thought.
I have seen it. Didn't like it. It didn't do much for me, that movie, which is a shame because I love both Scarlett Johansson and Bill Murray. So
see, I thought perhaps we could watch that to see if we liked it or not.
All right, that's cool. I mean, I've got one. As we're not savages, complete savages, I mean, we'll be on this island and we'll obviously be trying to find any wildlife or anything to survive on and pick and mix that we've stolen from the remaining stock at Blockbuster. We're not savages, but once every year, December the 25th will roll round. And regardless of living on a desert island or not, I'm still going to celebrate Christmas.
Okay? Yeah, I mean, we've pulled up on a beach in November, so...
It's Elf, man.
Ah, you've pulled it out.
Failing Elf. Mm-hmm. We're going to go for Dudley Moore in Father Christmas. What is it? Is it Father Christmas? What's the Dudley Moore one that he did the Christmas film? We watch it every year at my house, and I don't know, but I think Elf is
a perfect film for Christmas, mate.
It is. I mean, it's a staple in our house. It's a great choice. Christmas. That. It's not Christmas unless we're watching. It's Santa Claus the movie. Sorry, is the Dudley Moore one, which is another staple in our house. But Elf is a must do. You've got some real funny moments with Will Ferrell, Zooey Deschanel being as adorably cute as she always is.
Lovely in this.
And it's James Caan, isn't it, who plays Buddy's dad. Fantastic movie. So every Christmas we'll have to crack out Elf.
Well, at Christmas time there's always The Sound of Music. We could have a sing along to that.
No, for the first time in our lives, we'd be stranded on a desert island, away from The Sound of Music. We won't have to watch it for the first time in our lives.
I suppose you're right.
Yeah.
All right. We'll use it as a coaster. How about Chitty Chitty Bang Bang?
No, I'm fine, thanks.
No, all right, check that. What about
I went to cinema in the park to watch that the other week.
We could pull out. We could watch that over and over, couldn't we?
I'm fine with that. We watch it over and over in this household anyway, so another few viewings won't hurt me. But
it's a little bit somber, but nice long film to while away the time. The Green Mile.
Now, I've only ever seen The Green Mile once, and that's enough for me. That's not a bad thing. I really enjoyed it, and I think Tom Hanks as always. He's fantastic in that movie. Michael Clarke Duncan this is the movie that made him a star in my eyes. I know he was good in Armageddon, and I know he'd done a few films, but The Green Mile cemented him as being a serious actor. You know, I could see this guy and I think, actually, he's got some chops on him. He doesn't just have to play this big, scary guy. He can play a soft, sensitive, you know, intricate character. But I watched it the once, and honestly, that's enough for me, because I enjoyed it, and it's one of those that can just do what it does. Now, not to say if it was on or I went around someone's house and they said, "Oh, I'm watching The Green Mile," I'd sit and watch it, but I will never actively seek out to go and watch that movie again.
Do you think The Shawshank Redemption has a similar feel to that? Would you like to take? Would you?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of The Shawshank Redemption. I understand why people like it, and I understand how it become as big as it did, because originally at the cinema that film flopped. It really didn't do well at all. It was only when it got released on home release that it suddenly become this sensation that it is. But I've watched it probably twice, I'd say, because I lived with someone who used to really enjoy that movie. I've seen it twice, and honestly, that again is enough for me.
Do you think Donnie Darko is another one of those that you've seen it once and you don't really see that again?
I've watched that loads. I love Donnie Darko.
Well, we could take that out then, yeah?
Yeah, cool. I'm cool with that. Not the second one, but yeah, we'll go for the first one.
Wasn't aware there was a second one.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's about his sister.
Right.
There is, with Green Mile, sorry, go back to that. It's one of those movies, I've only seen it twice. We reference that film daily at work. You know how hard things have been for me lately at work. It's been very busy. I've been working a lot, and we sometimes akin to feel like we're in a prison. And I'll be sweeping, and the guy I work with, I just hear him in the background. We felt free on that day, sitting there on the roof drinking a beer. Because it resonates through popular movie culture. That movie, everyone has seen. Shawshank Redemption. Regardless whether or not you like it, people know what that movie is, and it's a fantastic film. But
I've never seen Forrest Gump.
Oh, man. We're taking it.
Okay, we'll take that then. I've never seen that. So we'll leave Green Mile behind. Shawshank, are we going to leave that on the boat? Bring it out?
Shawshank stays on the boat, mate.
Stay on the boat. We'll take Forrest Gump because I've never seen it.
That really surprises me, given the fact that the film is about important historical popular culture events.
You'd think, yeah.
I would assume you've watched it, and you'll love it. You will laugh, you will cry, you will get angry with it, you'll get annoyed with it. It's a beautiful movie. It's one of those. We have the list of top 10 favourite films, but there's also this list of movies that I have in my head of, if it's on, I'll watch it. If it's halfway through and I start watching it, I will watch it till it finishes. If it's a minute in, I will sit there and I will watch it in its entirety. Forrest Gump is near the top of that list. It's one of those. It's quaint, it's beautiful, it's touching, it's so clever, it's funny, and I'm really surprised you've never seen it, because I know it'd be so up your street.
I think there's a couple of those films, like Dirty Dancing, I've never seen, which I know a lot of people love, but yeah, Forrest Gump, I don't know how I've avoided it. Maybe I've fought against seeing it for some reason.
I get it. It's one of those. It's very much in the same vein, like you say, as when you said Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption. It's one of those kind of movies. It's lauded as that these films are lauded as masterpieces of modern filmmaking in a sense. They're classics, modern classics. And I think sometimes that can be quite off-putting for a movie. If you haven't seen it with everyone else, you kind of fall aside from it.
Yeah,
the only reason why I watched Green Mile, I only watched about 2 years ago, and that's only because my wife made me watch it, because she said, "I know you'll like it. I don't know why you've not seen this yet." And I was like, I don't really have to watch this. And I did, and I really enjoyed it, but I never need to see it again. And I think Forrest Gump will be that for you. I think you'll probably sit down and watch it, go, "That was really good," and then it'll never go on.
Well, there's two other classics here. There's Gone with the Wind,
Yep.
and there's Citizen Kane. Have you seen either of those?
I haven't. I don't like them, mate.
So we'll leave those behind as well.
I like classic movies. It really sounds like here that I don't.
Well, what else is there you want to take then? That's a classic film. What else should we do?
North
Let's
by
take your King
Northwest.
Kong. Oh, that's a.
Yeah,
Let's pull that one out.
I mean, if we're going to go for that, I mean, anything Hitchcock for me of that era, or for that matter, Cary Grant of that era.
Okay,
Charade,
so what Cary Grant
Charade.
film should we pull out?
We're going to go for Charade. We're going to go for North by Northwest. We're going to go for Father Goose, because I absolutely love that film. I think that's fantastic.
Don't think that's in here.
Have you ever seen Father Goose?
I haven't. I don't think it's in here.
Brilliant. Okay, then we go for the Hitchcock
I
ones.
think that went out on rental and the person did bring it back.
We go for them too then.
Can I take Avatar?
You can, mate. Not a problem in the world. I think it's a fantastic movie, and
Because we could watch that over and over again, and if
totally.
we bring the full uncut extra hour version, that would be good, wouldn't it?
I'm cool with either one, mate. I love the film. I think it's one of those that it's a victim of keyboard warriors. You know, the figures speak for themselves. It made over $2 billion worldwide, right? It's the highest grossing movie all time for a reason. Now, I do agree that I think it's a bit long in the tooth to make a sequel to it. I think it's that we're a little bit past that time. However, it's a blooming good film, and people like to be negative for being negative. You know that.
Sure.
So,
Two films we shouldn't watch is Titanic and Jaws.
I was going to mention Titanic.
But talking of Jaws, and that's a cracking list. So I hope you the listeners enjoyed that little list of movies, because there's a lot there that we've never talked about before, and there's obviously some there that they've never heard of.
Send us your ones.
It'll be great to hear this Desert Island discs.
I know Jeremy have a few views on this, and he'll probably have a go at me about some of the films I chose.
But talking of Jaws, one phenomena that has happened in the last few weeks is the release of The Meg, and the shocking amount of money this film is making. I mean, forget Sharknado. This thing is storming ahead.
Yeah,
It's doing incredibly well in the box office, and I don't think it's to do with Jason Statham. I just think people do like a massive, great shark.
mate.
And
it's got all the workings of a Hollywood blockbuster family fun film. That's what it is. You know, it's.
are you going to go and see this?
I won't go see it. No, it's. I will watch this when it comes out because I am interested, but I'm not willing to drop 10 quid on going to the cinema. You know, I'm not willing to do that. The guy at work actually took his son to see it yesterday for his birthday. And he come in and he said exactly the same thing. He went, "Oh, it's brilliant. It was real good fun."
I think by the time we've eaten all this pick and mix and we get rescued, we're not going to get through the cinema doors.
So we've yeah,
It'll
exactly.
be the size of Meg.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll let Meg eat me, to be honest with you. If I get stuck on a desert island for that long, I'll watch all these films and I'll probably just jump in the sea. But yeah, it's
Anything else there that takes your fancy you want to grab before we
before we go, I mean, there's the obvious ones. I'm going to quickly reel off something. We've got Labyrinth, we've got Shaun of the Dead. I could watch them whenever. We've got Pulp Fiction. We've got, and that's a good long film as well. And we could sit there and dissect that for hours.
we could pull that apart. That's a goodie on the
Can't we
beach.
just?
Yeah.
Interview of a Vampire.
Oh, I don't know. Has it got an uplifting ending?
Not really, no.
No, I want something a bit more uplifting. Certainly at the end, Willis drives around his motorbike and all things are
Schindler's
good.
List.
Oh, that's an uplifting film.
There is so many, mate. We could sit here for hours, I think, spitballing what we'd watch on a desert island.
What about The Holiday?
No.
With Jude Law and Jack Black.
No, if we're going to go comedy, we go Vacation. All right. Or Fletch.
Fletch.
All right.
That's good. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, anything with Chevy Chase in it.
Should we take a Cheech and Chong movie?
No. Never liked
just
them.
Chevy Chase.
Not even back in the day did I like Cheech and Chong. But yeah, Chevy Chase.
What about Coming to America?
As long as we're not going to be racially insensitive on this island, okay, because that is really not a PC movie, Okay. Yeah, I suppose we could do Coming to America. There's a sequel of that coming out apparently as well.
I've heard. What about some comedy? What about taking something like not comedy? I mean, like a stand-up. We could perhaps take Raw. Eddie Murphy's Raw.
No, not a fan.
No, okay.
I'm not a fan of. I'm going to try and put this in the most PC way I can of black racial comedy. I find they go on about these racial differences and that too much in the sketches, and it doesn't gel with me. I don't think it's racially insensitive because they can say it, and the whole point is that it is funny because of what they're saying. It's the Family Guy humour, isn't it? Of you shouldn't be saying this, hence why it's funny. Okay. But it just doesn't sit well with me that it's kind of a stereotypical comedy Eddie Murphy does in Raw quite a bit. And it's what Richard Pryor does quite a bit as well. I like intelligent comedy. For me, people like Eddie Izzard is leaps and bounds one of the funniest people you know, because he's so intelligent. I mean, the guy can sit there and he can do a whole show in France, fluent in French, and he does parts of it in his English routine, but it's the way he delivers the French. It's hilarious. I don't know what he's saying half the time, but it's the way he delivers it. So
I think we should take Airplane with us.
Yeah, we can take. I mean, if you want to take some stand up, I'll even take some George Carlin. It's disgusting and it's rude.
George Carlin, you absolutely, mate, perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, his quotes are just sublime and quite profound.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, and if you want black comedy, I absolutely 100%. I sat and watched probably about an hour and a half of them last night. They are up there in one of my favourite things to do at the moment, and that's Keegan Michael Peele, and what's his name? The other one.
Is there a box set of that?
No, they are on Comedy Central. It's the guy who directed.
We can't.
No,
we need discs, mate. We need discs.
You can probably get it, but it's the director of Jordan Peele, the guy who directed. It's Keegan Michael Key and Jordan Peele. That's it. It's Jordan Peele directed Get Out, and Keegan Michael Key, who's in a lot of movies and who's also in Predator coming out this year. The two of them do sketches. Now, I'll send you some links to some of their funniest sketches, and those two are hilarious, absolutely astounding. And the production value that goes into some of them, you'll think you're watching a movie before you suddenly realise it's just a 2-minute sketch. But yeah,
Black comedy wise, we got Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, or we can take Friday, because I love those films. If you want to get into a black culture movie that I would take with me, there is quite a lot, but Gridlocked is one of them that I absolutely love, with Tupac Shakur. It's one of my favourite films. Mm-hmm. Also, and the name has escaped me now. Come on, give me it. What is it? You keep talking and I'm going to think of it.
I was just thinking of a good buddy movie. What about Lethal Weapon? It's short, but, you know.
Can we go
we're
Lethal
buddies
Weapon
on
2?
the beach. Lethal Weapon 2.
I kind of prefer it.
And we've got Patsy Kensit.
Yeah, not that bit, but I just think it's a bit more fun.
We can grab the pair of those.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. There's another good 80s retro buddy cop movie that would be perfect.
Boys in the Hood, that was the film. Sorry.
Oh yeah, that's brilliant. Fantastic. And the other movie that I thought we could grab out, which I've not seen for a while, is The Lost Boys.
Oh my God, why have I not thought of that one? Lost Boys, yeah, there you go. You can throw some of mine away that you don't like.
Well, that was the last one that in the bottom of the box that I thought I'll save that for the best.
Well,
and
you did.
If you guys have not seen Lost Boys, because I know we have some sort of
welcome to the real world, Michael.
We should really recommend that film very highly. It's a fantastic movie with a brilliant soundtrack, some great songs on it.
I won't sing, we'll have to pay copyright. Yeah, it is great. Okay, trivia time. What's the dog's name?
Oh, no, it's something C at the end of it. Something, get C.
Nanook.
Oh, it's Nanook, isn't it? Nanook, yeah. Well, I don't know if you noticed, mate, but I did post the poster on our Facebook page today, along with also, I think, Escape from New York. I think I would pop on there. Or The Warriors.
It's a good film as well.
It is, yeah. So, these are all good movies that some I've never heard of and are perfect for a very long stretch on a desert island.
Which depends how much food's on that island, because we might not last long at all. But
we got pick and mix, mate. We can take our time.
You did take Star Wars as well, just in case in our moments of death throes, our last moments, we can just put that on. Yeah.
A New Hope.
Yeah, okay. Well, I said Star Wars. That's what it is.
Episode 4, because it is hopeful. Yeah. We do get a medal ceremony at the end. It finishes nicely. It's a good one-off. It's perfect.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, if in our death throes, we don't need to watch Star Wars on this desert island to start off with. But in the last moments, when we're too frail and we realise we've only got a couple of hours left, we'll stick Star Wars on. Okay?
That's it.
I can't think of any better film to finish my final moments on. So,
and on that note, thank you very much for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm sure you did, mate, because you pulled out some cracking movies there.
Cheers, mate, and yourself. We're now on Spotify as well.
That's fantastic news.
Got to add that in there. We're on Spotify.
So, how does that work? What do we have to do to get on to listen to Retro Ink on Spotify?
I don't know. I don't have Spotify.
Do we just go into search, put in Retro Ink podcast?
If you've got a Spotify account, you can find us. Apparently so. So yeah, that's all good. And is there any more information we need? Oh yeah, there is one last thing we do need to mention. And that's for the next few weeks up until about September, we will only be once a week by the looks of it, due to timings, holidays, etc., because I'm sodding off to the West Country for a week, which will take up 2 of my Sundays, unfortunately, of recording time. So we're going to try and get some in the bag, and it'll be once a week up until sort of September time, won't it? So,
indeed. I know there are some podcasts out there that are taking the summer off or taking some time out, but we're going to go do one podcast a week. While Andy's away, I won't be doing this by myself. I won't get our listeners down dramatically. But I do wish you have a fantastic holiday, and really much looking forward to some comments from our listeners on this week's show, and any recommendations that you would take on a long stretch.
Yeah, unless it's our listeners from like Japan or something, because we won't be able to understand it. But thanks for listening. Yeah. No, that gets you in all sorts of trouble. Google Translate does, mate.
Those people in the Maldives are thinking, that are listening to the show, thinking, we just have to take these films down to the beach on our portable DVD player, because they're already on a desert island, pretty much.
The ones in Australia haven't even heard of Gone with the Wind yet. It's not out. So see you later, Matt. Sorry. Right, there you go, guys. Thank you very much for listening again, and we'll see you this time next week. Well, we won't see you, but yeah, bye.
Bye for now.